Hey guys, this is Kat, and I, like you guys, are taking a course in ZBrush that includes an elephant in one of the exercises. But the software that we're talking about in there is Modo, which is another piece of software that's another $1,800 that some of us don't have access to that software. So I wondered if I could do this in Sketchup, which is a program I use for woodworking and other basic CAD. It's actually quite powerful, but it doesn't do this sort of clay-based mesh type drawing as well as something like ZBrush. But this is a very, very ugly elephant, but it'll do just fine for our class. But the beauty of it is it's done in SketchUp, and SketchUp is a free application if you get SketchUp Make. Now, I'll show you real quickly. If you don't have SketchUp, it's been around for many years, probably about maybe 9 years, maybe longer. But if you go out on the web and you search for SketchUp Make, you can download a free version of SketchUp. There is another one they'll try and route you to, which is SketchUp Pro, which is about $800. The main difference between SketchUp Pro and SketchUp Make is some solid modeling tools, which you won't need right now. The other thing is it has all of the exporters for 3D, so the OBJ and STL and the DWG, all of those types of files can be generated from Pro, but in SketchUp Make you have to add a plugin. So it's not really a big deal, but SketchUp Make is free. So if you download the software first, and again, search SketchUp Make, then go out to a site called Sketchucation. Or you can just search SketchUp OBJ Exporter and it'll most likely route you to Sketchucation. Now you have to sign up for an account. It is free. There's a free version that you can sign up for, or you can upgrade, or in some cases donate to people who have created this software. But once you're logged in, you can download an OBJ exporter. There's also an STL exporter, but the OBJ one is what works best with ZBrush that I've found. All right, and as you're learning SketchUp, there's also, like all of these CAD programs, there are really good tutorials and how-to videos. In fact, the ones that come from SketchUp, there's one here called the Toolbar series, which shows you every single one of those commands. Like we're going to use the freehand command. We're also going to use the line command and the eraser. So if you had questions and really wanted to know more about those, free tutorials are available. All right, so let's get started on this. But let's say, that I downloaded the exporter. Okay, so I went and downloaded the OBJ exporter, and it's a .rbz file. I'm on a Mac, and it put it in my downloads folder. But I'll show you how you load that in SketchUp. So once you're in SketchUp, you go to the SketchUp preferences, and this will be, of course, different on a PC, but under a Mac, it's under Preferences. You're going to look for extensions. When you find that, you click Install Extension. You go out and you go find your OBJ exporter wherever it ended up on your computer, and you click Open. Mine's already installed, so I'm clicking Cancel, but once you're done, you just close the preferences, and it'll tell you that it's immediately available for use. You do not have to restart SketchUp, and you don't have to restart your computer, at least not on a Mac. I haven't tried it on a PC. So once that's done, and I create this beautiful model, I can go up to the File menu and choose OBJ Exporter. And this, once my file is saved, I can export an OBJ, and then I can import that directly into ZBrush. So I'm going to show you how I did this, but I'm going to start out first, though, with some quick navigation. So if anybody doesn't know how to use SketchUp or you haven't touched it, I'll give you a quick and dirty up and running so we can get to the point where we make an elephant. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete my elephant and get started. So the first thing, once you launch SketchUp, is you're going to have to choose a template. So you just pretty much choose whichever one you want. It could be engineering or whatever. But we just want a big blank canvas in here. There's nothing in here. We're going to first build a cube so we can practice navigating, and then we're going to build the elephant. So within SketchUp, you may or may not see this vertical toolbar here on the left. If you don't, it's hidden under one of these menus. So on a Mac, it's under the View menu, under Tool Palettes and Large Tool Set. So it's different on a PC, but you're going to look for Large Tool Set, and that will give you all of these tools here on the left. Whenever you first launch SketchUp, though, a lot of those tools are up here at the top. So for example, the ones that we're going to use the rectangle tool, we're going to use the push-pull tool, we're going to use this orbit tool, and then you'll notice there's a hand, so that's our pan tool. But let's get started by drawing a square or a rectangle by using the rectangle tool. Now, if you hover over any one of these tools, it'll show you what the shortcut is. And so for rectangle, it's R. So just press R. Then you're going to use a kind of a little different technique for drawing. But what you want to do is click anywhere, click and move your mouse, but you're not dragging. So it's a click and then release the button, move it around, and then click again. And why you do this is if you were going to be inserting dimensions. So if I wanted to draw a 12-inch by 12-inch square, I can click, move my mouse just somewhere. I can type 12, 12 and hit enter, and I've just drawn a 12-inch by 12-inch square. So if I were clicking and dragging, that's hard to do. But if I click, move my mouse, release, I don't have my hands on, put the hands in the air, type 12, 12, and I've created a 12 by 12 box. All right, so I just did an undo with a Command Z or an Alt Z. So now we want to extrude this into 3 dimensions. So to do that, we're going to use the push-pull tool, which is a P for shortcut. So press P, and now we're going to do that same motion again. So I can click and then move my cursor up, so you can see I'm drawing up. And now I could type, let's say 8, and hit enter. So I just made a box that's 8 inches high. So that's all we want to do for the moment, because we just want something to be able to navigate around, just so you can test this out. So the first tool I'm going to show you as far as navigation is the orbit tool. So if you click over here on this red and green arrow tool or press O, then I can click and drag to move the view around that cube, or around the, around the box. Now, notice too, you can see the position of the axis. So I'm not rotating the box, I'm rotating the view around the box. So that's a difference. Now, if you have a scroll wheel mouse, you can actually scroll in and out. And there's some tricks with navigation. It's similar in a lot of 3D programs. But if I were to hover over to the right of this and zoom in and out, you'll see that the box goes off the edge over there on the left. If I hover over the box and zoom in and out, it fills the screen. If I go back out, hover to the left, and then zoom in and out, it goes far off to the right. So you can do a lot of navigation by zooming in and out on different areas of the window. And let's see, one more. If I'm in this orbit tool, I can press the Shift key and change my cursor to a hand, which is the pan tool, and then click and drag back and forth. And so that's the pan tool. So again, oh, and with the orbit, you don't have to click outside the box. You can actually click on it. So in that way, it's different than ZBrush. So click and rotate, use your Shift key to pan back and forth, use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And I'll show you one other trick. If I'm using one of my drawing tools, let's say I've got my rectangle tool selected. If I just press down on the scroll wheel, my cursor turns to the orbit tool. And then I can go back and be drawing again. So it's a shortcut. If you've got a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can actually press on it to orbit. All right, so now we're ready to start drawing the elephant. So I'm going to change my view. First, I need to remove the box. So I'm going to press the space bar, and I'm going to draw a big box around this that encloses the entire box. Once it turns blue like this, then I can just hit the delete key. Now another shortcut for that, and I'm deselecting by clicking outside the box, but if I triple click, then I select it, I can also hit the delete key. Or I could select part of the box. Okay, so this click and drag. And there's also a different way to select, which is clicking and dragging from the lower right-hand corner, which actually selects differently. It's called a crossing box. So as long as I've crossed something, I've selected it. Whereas on this one, I have to enclose it to select it. Two different things. Check the videos if you're curious about that. But I'm going to triple click and then just hit delete. So now we need to change our view to get a better view from above. So let's go ahead and choose the camera menu and choose a standard view from the top. Now there are shortcuts for that. So on a Mac, for example, that shortcut is a Command 1. On a PC, it might be an Alt 1 is a guess. You can also customize your toolbar. So mine is customized so I can click here on different views. But you can do that on the Mac, it's under Customize Toolbar under the View menu. On the PC, I think it's under Preferences or something like that. All right, now I'm going to move this over. So I need the hand tool or the pan, so I can press H. And I'm just going to move this over so I have a nice big drawing area right here for my elephant. Now I'm going to use the freehand tool. First thing you'll notice is that there's not a shortcut unless you go in and assign one. So the freehand tool right now, you just have to click on it. And I'm going to start drawing my elephant. And literally, you can draw like you're a first grader. So if you were drawing an elephant, you're in first grade, you're probably going to draw a round head. And as long as you complete that circle or get close, see there, I didn't get close. It didn't fill in with the surface. Because one of the ideas in SketchUp is as long as you draw a curve and get it close, it's going to fill in, and this now has a surface. I'm going to press the spacebar and I'll show you that I can select the line around it, or I can select the surface in the middle. Now, if I need to draw a body, if I hover, it'll actually tell me where endpoints are. So I could click and just make a big body right there. And we'll get rid of this line here in a minute, so that's not important. Now, when we draw his legs, we want his legs to come over here in front of his body. So I'm going to come down here and draw a leg, and then come back over his body, and it's not showing it, but it's there. So that's why I started here and I went off of his body and then came back around. It's a quirky thing it just started doing tonight. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go ahead and do the same here and then draw over his body. There it is. We'll clean some of that up in a minute. Now I need to draw another leg, and this one's going to be coming from behind, like that. And this one's going to be coming from behind. We'll clean that up as well. He also needs a tail. It's a happy tail. And he's also going to need a trunk. And I'm using a Wacom pad, which makes this really nice as well. All right, so I've got a good basic shape of a happy elephant. He doesn't have knees. We'll put those in ZBrush. But if I use my scroll wheel, I can zoom in, and I'm going to clean some of this up. But for example, I don't want this line right here, so I can choose the eraser or press E, and then just use my cursor. If I use the eraser over the surface, nothing happens. But if I click on a line, it'll erase a line, which is what we want to do. So we're going to erase that line. We're going to leave this one. I'm going to go ahead and erase that one. And I'm going to erase this one as well. So now he has a full body like that. I want to move this over. So I could use my orbit tool. And let's see. I could use my scroll wheel and maybe scroll back over here. I'm going to clean this one up. There's a lot of extra stuff going on here. So I'm going to use my line tool, which is an L, or looks like a pencil. But I'm going to basically go in here and draw a line segment. And I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm clicking, moving, and then clicking again. And as soon as that fills in, I can use my E to go clean up these extra lines. And I want to make this other one actually come across here. So I'm going to maybe select that line, maybe right there, and maybe even add another one here. I'm just cleaning this up a bit, and then I can go erase the lines that I don't need. And I do need this one because that actually is something we're going to isolate for ZBrush. I'm also going to blend this one in here, just take another line segment. like that. Use my E and just erase this one because again, we need that separation from the body. Another one, and notice I'm zooming in. So I zoomed in right here on his leg and then I zoomed out and then I zoomed to the right and then zoomed over it to be able to navigate. Press L for the line, click. I'm going to smooth that one out there, use my E, and only, again, select these line segments because we need that to be separated from the body. And one more, I'll fix this part of the tail as well. And then use the E. Again, this needs to be separated from the body, so we're going to have them on different layers. And there's one more over here. This one's a little messy, so I'm going to click and connect those and then delete these extra little lines. So he looks kind of okay. And there's some other things you can do. Like if you use the move tool, you can actually grab an endpoint and move an endpoint around. But those are some of the probably more advanced things. But that's the move tool, and that's where you press M. And in that case, you would just hover over a corner until you see endpoint, and then you can click and move that around as well. All right, so one more, we need to draw an ear. So let's grab that freehand line again, and I'm going to draw just a big old elephant ear. And I'm going to isolate it because we're going to put it on a different level. And I also need to clean some of this up as well. So you can see here, let's clean that, make it a nice transition, and then use our eraser. And I can actually clean up all of these lines. So it's going to stand out a little bit. And let's clean up this little jig-jag here. This will make it easier once it gets in ZBrush. All right, so that is our elephant as of now. So now we're ready to start giving him some dimension. So you'll see if I orbit around, I just pressed O for orbit, that he's just flat. He's a flat elephant. So I need to be able to raise this up into 3 dimensions. And for that, we're going to use that push-pull tool, which allows us to extrude. So switch to the push-pull tool, and you'll notice as you hover over these sections, they're now isolated. So this ear, I'm going to click, release the mouse, and move it up so it's pretty thick, and then click again. Now I want the leg to be the same height, so if I just double-click on the leg, it will raise it to the same level. Another trick is to click and release the mouse, and see I can go up and down, and then hover over another surface, and it will use that as an inference to make it the same height, and then click on the other face to set that. So now we have the legs and the ear on the same level, and we need to bring the body up now. So we're going to switch to P again, click, and we're going to bring this up because we want those legs to be a little bit in front of the body, but we also need some mass to the body too. So we'll bring that up about there. And then we need to bring these legs up a little bit. So we'll bring them up just about halfway. And again, you can practice your inference. If you click on this one and bring it up, you notice it won't go any further than the body. But if you hover over this other one, it'll be the same height. Go ahead and click. And then you could try double clicking on the tail. So there is our very, very rough elephant. But I can tell you that something weird's going on because see that this leg is white and this is blue. If you use your orbit tool to go to the back is hollow. And if I bring it into ZBrush right now, just like this, it'll have problems. So you need to close off this back. And unlike ZBrush, this is really, really easy. All you have to do is press L for the line tool and hover on a corner or an edge or a midpoint along the bottom edge. Click, and then go across and just hover on the other edge and click, and it'll fill in the entire model. Now you can use your E to clean that up. And we could even remove this one. And even though it changed colors, it is completely solid. So you can see here. And then the front looks all right. And don't worry about this being a different color. That won't cause any problems. All right, so that's all fine and dandy. He's kind of chunky, but what about rounding him off a little bit? So maybe making his legs a little bit rounder. And there's a couple different ways that you can do that, but one of the easiest ways is to use the push-pull tool again. So press P, And you're briefly going to tap Option. And you can see down at the bottom, it says Option equals creating new starting face, which sounds complicated, but if you tap it, click, and then bring it up, you'll see that it actually has a different section for us to work with, which is important because the next step for us is I pressed S and then clicked on that surface again, and we're going to shrink this down. Now by using the Option key, and it always gives you instructions down here. So Option is about the center. So press Option and then come in a little bit and then release. Now I'm going to press P to switch back, tap the Option key, click, come up a little bit, press S again for scale. We're going to hold S down so we can come in around that center point and then click, and then press the space bar and click somewhere outside the model. And what we've done is we've just given it some dimension there. And the reality is this foot would actually probably continue and be thicker at the bottom, but this will work for right now. Now to do this to the second one, we're going to hit the space bar to switch to the arrow tool and select. Press P for push-pull. Tap Option so we create that new starting face. Click. Don't drag, but we're going to go hover over the line that shows that level of the second one, the second level of the first leg. So click, and you're clicking on this leg, not over here. Press S for scale. You're going to press Option and hold it to give you that center point. Now you're going to press P, tap Option to toggle on new starting face and click. We're going to hover over the top of this one, and again, you click on this other face. Now immediately press S for scale. Hold the Option key so we're shrinking it shrinking that face along the center, and then release. And now to get out of drawing, press the space bar and click somewhere outside the model. And there's our elephant. And you could go in and do this to the ear, but you know, a lot of this you can do in ZBrush. We just want the basic shape. So it all looks good. I don't see any open holes here. We're ready to export. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that your model is saved. So if you haven't, you can do a save as or a save. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then we're going to go OBJ Exporter under the File menu or under your extensions. And let me go put that in my folder, and I'm going to change this to Elephant 3. It's going to ask me if I want to convert all texture files to PNG, but the reality is I haven't used any texture files. So we'll just say yes, but there's nothing there. Now I can switch back over to ZBrush, and I'll create a new document so you can see. Don't want to save changes. Now I need to go import under the tool palette for elephant3.obj and open. You're going to click and drag. Immediately press T to switch to the edit mode, and then you can rotate. So you can see the difference, and because this was all closed up, the back is closed, everything's good. We're now ready to start working with this. Now, one of the best tips I can give you on this is go ahead once you get it in here. If you start trying to, to model on this, it's not really going to work. So go ahead and Dynamesh this guy, and it will make him nice and ready to start drawing on. And you can use the clay brush as a good one. So you can zoom in and you can start using your smoothing. All right. Yeah. And let's see, just start modifying your elephant. You can use something like your SK cloth is a good one for actually making a nice edge of an elephant ear. You can mask stuff off and whatever, but just use your tools. But that gives you a good starting place for your model, and that is with SketchUp, which is a free application. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I know it was long, but hopefully I saved you a little money and got you a little start on SketchUp, and happy catting.